Hello students, in this video we will be taking a look at northern India in the centuries of the early medieval era. So how did it begin? The rule of Harsha and Pulkesin II marks the end of ancient Indian history, setting the stage for the medieval period that followed. Subsequently, from the 8th to 12th century AD, this period saw the rise of regional powers and the beginning of the tripartite struggle for control over northern India. This was the early medieval era. Later, from the 12th to 18th century AD, this period witnessed the establishment of Muslim dynasties and later the Mughal Empire across the Indian subcontinent and was therefore called the later medieval period. What was the tripartite struggle and how did the Pala dynasty originate? It was a 200-year contest between Pratiharas, Palas, and Rashtrakutas for control of Kannauj and the Gangetic Valley ultimately weakened all three powers. During this time, Gopala, who ruled from 765 to 769 AD, was the founder of the Pala dynasty. He restored order in Magad and established control over northern and eastern India. Following his reign, Dharmpala, who ruled from 769 to 815 AD, extended control to Bengal, Bihar, and Kannauj. He founded Vikramshila University and restored Nalanda, allocating 200 villages for its maintenance. Thereafter, Devpala maintained territories and captured Assam and Orissa. The dynasty briefly revived under Mahipala before declining, with Govinda Pala as the last ruler. West to them were the Pratiharas. The Pratiharas defended northern and western India against Muslim invasions from 725 to 1018 AD, serving as a critical barrier between the invaders and the Indian heartland. The dynasty was founded by Nagbhatta I, who ruled from 725 to 740 AD, with Kannauj as the capital. Under subsequent rulers, the dynasty expanded under Vatsaraja and Nagbhatta II's strategic leadership. The empire reached its zenith under Mihirbhoja, stretching from Kashmir to Narmada and Kathiawar to Bihar. Continuing this expansion, his son Mahendrapala further expanded into Magad and North Bengal. However, following Mahmud of Ghazni's attack in 1018 AD, the empire rapidly diminished under Rajyapala, with former territories becoming independent under feudatories like the Palas, Tomars, and Chauhans. How did they administer their territories? The Pala and Pratihara dynasties established sophisticated administrative structures to govern their vast territories effectively. To achieve this, their systems featured clear hierarchical divisions. The Bhukti, or province, was the largest administrative unit, governed by Uparika officials who collected revenue and maintained order. Below this, the Mandala or Visaya was the mid-level division, headed by Visayapathis with similar duties within smaller territories. Patala was smaller administrative units below the district level for localized governance. At the grassroots level, villages were the smallest units, often under Bhogpatis or Samanthas who served as local chieftains. The revenue system featured structured tax collection flowing upward through the administrative hierarchy. In a parallel development, in the Deccan, Dantidurga founded the Rashtrakuta kingdom with its capital at Malkhed near Solapur, dominating northern Maharashtra. Dantidurga ruled from 753 to 756. He founded the kingdom while serving as a Chalukya feudatory under Kirtivarman II. Following him, Krishna I ruled from 756 to 774. He expanded control over Karnataka and Konkan, defeated the Pallavas, and commissioned the magnificent Kailashnath temple at Ellora. Later, Dhruv ruled from 780 to 793. He led victorious campaigns to Kannauj, defeating both Nagbhatta II of Pratihara and Dharmpala of Pala. Subsequently, Amoghvarsh I ruled from 814 to 878. Known as the Ashoka of South, he established the capital at Manyakheta, authored works in Kannada and Sanskrit, and patronized Jainism. Under his successors, Govinda III annexed Kannauj and Malwa and defeated Lankan rulers, greatly expanding the territory. In contrast, Amogvarsha preferred literature and religion over war, writing the first Kannada book on poetics. Indra III re-established power after periods of weakness. Krishna III, who ruled from 934 to 963, was the last significant ruler. Notably, the Rashtrakutas patronized multiple religions and arts, creating the rock-cut Shiva temple at Ellora. The early Rashtrakuta rulers established political dominance through military campaigns while simultaneously nurturing a rich cultural heritage. In line with this, their patronage extended to architecture, literature, and religious plurality. In military conflicts, the Palas fought with Pratiharas for control over the region from Banaras to South Bihar. Meanwhile, the Rashtrakutas defeated the Pratiharas twice before retreating to the Deccan. Bhoja revived the Pratihara Empire, making Kannauj the capital for a century. However, Bhoja's expansion was halted by Devpala in the east and the Rashtrakutas in the south. Some of the key events were Indra III's attack on Kannauj from 915 to 918 significantly weakened the Pratiharas. Palas dominated for approximately 90 years with moderate territorial extent. Pratiharas ruled for about 100 years with significant territorial control. In contrast, Rashtrakutas were the most dominant dynasty, lasting 150 years with the largest territorial extent. The Rashtrakutas served as a bridge between North and South India. Krishna III, the last significant Rashtrakuta ruler, built a temple at Rameswaram after annexing parts of the Chola Empire. Their administrative setup followed a hierarchy. The king was the head administrator and commander-in-chief. Ministers handled foreign affairs, revenue, treasury, armed forces, and justice. At the provincial level, governors were known as Uparika and managed the Bhukti or Rashtra. District heads, or Visayapatis, governed the Mandala or Visya. At the local level, village administration was led by a headman with village elders. The administrative system under the Guptas, Harsha, and Chalukyas had hereditary ministers and provincial governors. In terms of organization, territorial divisions varied, with regions organized into Bhukti, Mandala or Visya, and Patala. Village elders managed local affairs, while kings patronized diverse religions. During this period, the Rashtrakuta period witnessed remarkable architectural and literary achievements that continue to inspire awe today. The Kailasanath temple, carved from a single rock at Ellora, epitomized Dravidian style. The Pattadakal complexes, including the Kashivishwanatha and Jain Narayana temples, are UNESCO sites. In addition, a Brahmsha poet Swayambhu and his son flourished in the court. These architectural marvels showcase the dynasty's commitment to artistic excellence and religious pluralism, while their literary patronage enriched cultural heritage. Simultaneously, the early medieval period witnessed remarkable literary flourishing. Royal patronage enabled scholars to produce works of lasting significance. Kavirahasya was written by Halyudha. Parasvabhudya was composed by Jinsena. Adipurana was authored by Gunbhadra. Amoghavritti was written by Satyana. Ganitasram was composed by Viracharya. Nalachampu was written by Trivikrama Bhatta. Vikraman Senavijaya was authored by Pampa. Santipurana was composed by Ponna. As a result, these works span diverse genres including grammar, mathematics, poetry, and religious texts. Sanskrit and Kannada literature particularly flourished under royal support. We hope that you have understood the topic. To watch more videos and study effectively, check out the Eduref app and website.